All right, so we've given people a minute to join us, and we're ready to start. Hello, my name is Guro Danielsen. I'm here live from Mevo App's beautiful offices in Skien, Norway. I'm going to host this webinar today on gamification. I think I'll talk for about 35-40 minutes, and then we'll answer some questions at the end of the presentation. My colleague Sondre is monitoring the chat, so feel free to ask any questions as we go along, and he'll take care of the questions like technical stuff or anything you might wonder throughout the presentation. And when I'm done talking, I'll see if there's anything I should answer in front of everyone. Or you could just email me if you have some questions that you don't want to share in the chat. All right, like I was saying, there's a contest in this webinar. I've hidden this cat, a picture of this cat somewhere in my presentation. It's one cat per slide. If there's a cat on the slide, it's just one. Some slides don't have a cat. Count the cats and register the amount in the app, Mevo app, and you can compete to win some very exotic coffee beans from our local roaster here in Skien. They're not Norwegian coffee beans, but it's Norwegian roastery. So yeah, very exotic prize if you guess the right amount of cats. And of course, it's also a chance to experience some of the stuff I'm talking about here today for yourself if you compete in this cat challenge. This first cat, by the way, does not count. So yeah, do not count this cat. I would like to just start by briefly presenting myself. My name is Guro Danielsen. I work here at Mevo as, we call it customer success manager, which basically means that I make sure our customers are happy. Our customers are mainly brands or agencies who use our platform and our app to organize activities to engage key stakeholders in any kind of activity through gamification. So yeah, we're not a gaming company, we are a software company, and we provide this platform. My background is not in tech, it's not in gaming. I'm not a gamer, I've never played a video game in my life, I think. But my background is in journalism, and yeah, as I'm sure you know, everything is about communication. So also in our app and through gamification, the key thing is to communicate with this group that you try to organize. So that's how my background plays into this whole thing. So it might all look like game and fun, and it is fun to use gamification, but there's also some serious science behind it, and that's what we'll dive into today, just the story behind and the science, and we'll have a look at why gamification is so effective in sales and marketing and brand building and storytelling. And I'll show you many examples to illustrate my points. This is the agenda for today. First, I'll just give you, I don't know how many of you already are familiar with the concept of gamification, so I'll give you a brief definition. We'll look at why it works, what's the psychology behind all of this. We'll look at many examples, how it's used in different areas, everything from very commercial to not so commercial. And I'll finish with some examples of stuff we've been doing here at Mevo, campaigns we've been doing with some of our customers. So that's the agenda. First, there are many different wordings of this definition of gamification. I chose one from Gabe Sickerman, Canadian-American, who has written a lot of books on the subject, and also, yeah, he has some great TED Talks on YouTube. If you really want to dive into the subject after this, that's a good place to start. His definition of gamification is it's the process of using elements and dynamics from gaming in other settings to engage users and solve problems. So the whole thing is to use these elements, like on this illustration right here, elements you know from gaming, especially video games, like points. You got the levels, badges, leaderboards, all these elements, any kind of reward that is used in another setting to create that same sense of engagement and to make the user feel like they want to keep on doing that activity. It's not like you're creating a video game for your brand or your business, but it's stealing the best parts, so to speak, to create a setting where you make the user feel like they want to keep on doing it, and it's the same. You push the same buttons as you push when that makes people who play video games stay in front of the TV for hours and hours. So the whole idea is to take these mechanics and use them on something else, something that's maybe not very exciting, something that could be very dry and boring, and then make it more interesting and fun. So that's the way to do it. And I've included this. These are a few screens from our app, just a fictional brand we've made called Deck. And these are examples of screens from a sales contest selling bicycle tires. So it has nothing to do with gaming per se, but as you can see, it looks very much like a game. And I get points as a salesperson. I get points for selling tires and answering quizzes. And I can see how my name climbs on the leaderboard, and that is very engaging for me as a user. So now you might be thinking, okay, but I'm not a hardcore gamer like this guy on the picture right here. You've maybe, like me, you haven't played a video game in your life. You don't know what all this is about, and you would think, okay, this might work for him, but it doesn't work for me. Well, that's where you're wrong. I've included this photo of, this is the Norwegian Prime Minister, Erna Solberg. She's at the Norwegian Parliament actually playing Pokemon Go. She's been caught playing this game at several occasions. Yeah, I think it was a fun example to include because, okay, so Pokemon Go is a game, a real game, but there's something about this game that makes Erna Solberg want to take up her phone and get those points. She can't miss the chance to get some more points, even though this situation is clearly not a very appropriate thing to do. So there's something triggered in her to make her do so. And I think that's the proof that if you're human, you will respond to gamification. And the answer, what is triggered, is of course something in our brain. To understand why gamification works, you have to understand how our brain works. I was talking about rewards earlier. This is when you use gamification, it's like your brain recognizes the situation as something where you expect there to be a reward. You anticipate to be rewarded. So it's the brain's reward system that comes into play. So when something is presented to us in a way that we expect there to be a prize or a reward, we get excited, and then when that anticipation is rewarded, we really get that reward, we feel happy, to put it simply. And that feeling is the hormone dopamine, the rush of dopamine in our brain, and that's what makes us happy, to put it in very simple terms. So it's also dopamine. It's been called nature's own intoxication. You might also know it as the hormone that makes us addicted to something. It's the same thing that makes you addicted to smoking or gaming or gambling. In this case, like in marketing and brand building, I think it's not that serious, as many of those can be less than positive for a human. I think in this case, it's I think we can agree that it's all about the positive. And this, of course, when you get this rush of dopamine and you get this happy feeling, you want to repeat that activity. You want to keep on doing that stuff that made you happy. So that's what keeps you motivated to keep on doing the same thing, to keep on answering those quizzes, climbing that leaderboard, because you are constantly rewarded. And this has been the subject of research for many, many years. And the research consistently shows that gamification increases engagement, and it makes us more motivated to absorb whatever we are presented to in that gamified setting. There's actually a prize, a research prize called the Brain Prize. I know it sounds made up. It sounds like an internet prize kind of thing, the Brain Prize, but it's actually being compared to the Nobel Prize of Brain Research. So this is a serious business. And in 2017, this prize was awarded to a group of scientists who researched this subject, dopamine and learning. And some of the findings in that research was that not only does this rush of dopamine makes us more responsive to learning, but it also makes sure it's like a physical thing that happens in our brain, that the knowledge sticks. So we are more motivated to learn, and we remember the information better when we are exposed to it through a gamified setting. So why use it in marketing and brand building? Well, I think it kind of explains itself when you know the stuff we've just been through. You know that it increases engagement, it builds long-term loyalty, and it makes sure that your message and the information you want to convey really sticks. So these are very attractive goals to any brand or business. And it's also something that can be applied to anything from brand building and marketing, but also stuff like quitting smoking, saving plans, staying fit. And talking about staying fit, I've included some examples now, because some gamification is many brands and businesses use this today, and I think after this webinar today, you'll start noticing it in many places you might not have seen it before or noticed it before. I think many of you also already have apps on your phones that use this, and it's so popular and effective at that. Many brands or concepts are just completely built around gamification. I like Fitbit. I'm sure many of you know I chose Fitbit. I could just have easily have chosen any other activity watch or fitness band or whatever these gadgets you wear all the time that track your activity. And it could be anything from beating your personal best at the marathon to completing the 10,000 steps a day challenge. You set the bar yourself and you get rewarded accordingly with points and badges and levels and all kinds of stuff. Fitbit is really generous with all of these rewards, like this. I used to have a Fitbit and I found this email, wicked cool, you've earned the Japan badge, which meant that I've walked the length of Japan, which is really, really random, but it made me kind of happy to get it. So that was, I guess, what they wanted to achieve with that badge. And the effect is the same, like I said, if it's fitness or education. And like in Fitbit, you don't get a money prize, you don't win a car, you don't, maybe if you're in a group and you can brag about it with your friends, but basically you just get some points in this little thing on your phone on the app. And like I have a Polar watch, and if I complete my 10,000 steps a day challenge, I get this small firework on the screen, just a few little pixels flying around, nothing much, but it's enough to make me do a couple more laps around my living room before midnight if I see that I'm approaching the goal and I want to get that small fireworks before I go to bed. So yeah, I guess it's just my brain chasing the dopamine. Another example I brought that's a very complete gamified thing is an app called Habitica. Their slogan is Gamify Your Life, which basically means you can earn points for anything you want to, or as the case might be, don't want to do in your daily life. So you can put in eating my vegetables, calling my mom, cleaning the bathroom, anything that might be quite dull. Not that calling your mom is dull, but you know what I mean. And when you do that chore, kind of, you get the points, and you can buy stuff in the app with it. Not real stuff, not real money, but you get the sense of achievement, and you get that motivation you need to do those tasks. Actually, you can ask Sondre, the guy on the chat, monitoring the chat, about this. He has really gotten into this, and he uses it to remember to drink water and also to water the plants in our office. So yeah, as you see, it's alive and kicking. So this app actually helps Sondre stay hydrated, and it keeps our plants alive. So hooray, gamification. I mentioned also that gamification is great for learning. If you remember, it makes information stick. So instead of just learning a new language by reading in a book and doing the tasks in the book, you could use an app like Duolingo. It's a very fun app to learn a new foreign language. And you get these super easy questions, multiple choice most of the time, and you earn points really easily, and you quickly climb to the next level, and it gets more and more advanced. The language gets more and more advanced, but you still feel like you are on top of things all the time. So the idea, which is the basic idea with gamification, is to make it really simple and really achievable. The points should be really low-hanging fruit, so it should be really easy. Because actually, one thing that the research also shows is that the reward you get should be as big as you expected it to be, or bigger, for the release of dopamine to really kick in. So that's a clue to remember. That's also why at Mevo, when we have quizzes and stuff in our app, we almost always recommend there to be, if you do a quiz, you get 100 points. You don't just get 1 point, because it makes you feel better. So yeah, the language app, it really makes sense to apply it to education. I think if you have kids in school or kindergarten, you might see the apps they're using, and you will surely see elements of gamification being used in there as well. Okay, so these were some examples of apps that you would mostly use in your spare time, right? It's not like a very corporate thing. But it is the same dynamics you use if you transfer this kind of this thinking to a more corporate business setting. So in those cases, it's not the whole concept that's built around gamification, but you apply it to certain areas of the operation. So knowing what we know now from what I've been talking about, you can really see that it makes sense to offer a gamified solution if you want to do stuff like implement a new process at the workplace, ensuring that the employees stay motivated and engaged. But also it's a good idea to just build company culture and make sure that you're all on the same page. So it could be, you know, these kind of operations in-house, they can be quite heavy material to deal with. It's not exactly the most fun thing you do that day. So it's a good idea to try to make it more fun by including these rewards and points. And also in that way, you include more people. And yeah, it's a way to engage widely and communicate closely. So it could be anything from encouraging employees or staff to cut down on printer costs, to print less, or stuff like making sure they are aware of the company guidelines, health regulations, stuff like that. And of course, I cannot not mention that this is also a very something we are talking about every day now, obviously, with the ongoing pandemics and everything. More of these operations, any operation is moving to digital instead of in real life or face-to-face. So most workplaces are dealing with social distancing and remote work, all of that. I guess some of you are joining me from your home office today. So digital is the new normal in many areas, and we are experiencing a demand for solutions to solve these operations that you normally might do face-to-face, digital solution. So yeah, when you can't meet up with your teams, you can't give that encouraging pat on the back or that high five. Rewards and points and that kind of thinking in a gamified way, it's a good way to keep the spirit up and keep your teams together. You get kind of the same sense of togetherness, I think, if you do it well. I've included some numbers from the past, some more corporate examples. One from Ford Motors in Canada. They used a gamified solution by creating kind of a dream garage for their service personnel. They had this e-learning thing going before, but it was not really being used. And by training their people in this digital garage, where they learned about the products and everything in a digital setting, earning points and everything, they experienced a 470% increase in use of that learning tool. So that was quite effective. Yeah, that's one point. You might think that all e-learning is gamification. That's not really the case. It's not like you're clicking through some modules online and voila, you can call it a gamified experience. So there has to be something more to it, but there's something of it in that, but we believe in doing a more complete experience to get the full results. Second number I included is from Google. As I'm sure you know, they do a lot of fun stuff over there. They had this problem that I think is familiar to many of us, that people didn't log their travel expenses in time. When they have been out traveling, they were late with the paperwork and filling out and giving it back. So what they did at Google is that they created this digital solution where in a kind of a gamified setting where you earn points and you got this travel allowance for your travels. And if you had any money left when you got home, you could use that digital solution to put it back in your paycheck, or you could put it towards a common saving goal with your colleagues, or you could donate it to a charity. All of this in this gamified solution that you could see what others were doing, and especially the saving thing was really popular. And within a few months, they had 100% of their people submitting their travel expenses on time. So that's a good thing. I actually found just the other day an example of this is Norwegian accounting business, and it's called Triple Tex. They did kind of the same thing. It was just this summer. You know, the thing to track your hours if you work at the place where you're expected to track your hours each day to show what you've been working on. Well, this is an app where you track your hours, and if you track them the same day as if you track them the hours the same day, you water this plant. And if you do that on 20 consecutive days, tracking your hours on the same day, then you get a full-grown tree, and Triple Text actually plants a tree for you. So I thought that was a really, really good idea from my home country of Norway. They just developed this summer. Back to the big world, Deloitte, a huge organization, of course. I know also they use some gamification in their onboarding. They have huge amounts of people recruited every year. So that's a good idea. But the example I chose was from they did this. They had this leader training where they made the leaders, executives, do a training in a very video gamey setting where they got points, levels, leaderboards, the whole thing in a very visually also very video gamey setting. And this really pushed the right buttons, and they completed the training twice as fast. So you might think like executive leader training stuff, that's not gamification is not applicable for that kind of group. But I think, yeah, maybe especially for that group who normally don't do that much in those kind of settings or that framework, it will be something that you will look forward to doing in your workday. So that's the whole idea, is to just awaken that competitive spirit, because we all have it in us. So yeah, that was some more corporate examples from in-house operations. And now I would like to just briefly talk about a very commercial example, this is Starbucks, of course. Everyone knows Starbucks. They have this app. Many of you might have it. We don't have it in Norway actually yet, but it's really, really popular. And yeah, basically it's just a very high-tech version of this coffee loyalty card. And buy 6 cups of coffee, get the 7th one for free. You get that same thing in the Starbucks app, but you also get so much more with bonuses, levels. They also have this really cool high-tech artificial intelligence thing going. So yeah, you really feel like you're a part of a community, and you get some rewards every time you use it. It has actually over 16 million active users worldwide, so it's really popular. And their numbers from Starbucks say that 40% of their revenue comes from actually payment through the app, which is also something that they offer. Really, really advanced stuff. That was the commercial. I would like to include a bit more, I guess you can call it noble example as well, because I think it's interesting that the same dynamics that make you buy that extra cup of coffee can also make you register to vote. That's what Samantha Bee, American comedian, did in the midterm elections in the States in 2018. She created this app called This Is Not a Game, The Game, playing on the fact that it's really important that to engage in politics. And this app was made to engage people in politics, no matter what side you were inclined to vote for. She actually included money prizes and everything, and had really simple quizzes, but the goal was to make people engaged in politics, and ultimately to make them register to vote, as we know is not as easy in the States. And yeah, it's kind of a barrier to get people to that point. She experienced some technical issues, which of course anyone who deals in tech know that that's not good. We don't have high tolerance for things not working. So yeah, in spite of that, she got the 350 downloads of this app. 250 people actually made a profile, and they registered. How many of those people actually registered to vote through? They had this third party that they were cooperating with, and 117,000 people might have voted. That is impossible to know, but at least it shows that you can engage people in something that's not, well, they could win money, but they could also learn something about politics. So, does all of this mean that you can gamify anything or everything and make it work? Well, not quite, of course. There is a certain skill to it. It's not like you can just take a huge manual and cramp it down through a thing and put it in an app, and voila, you get a sales success or a gamified learning success. To achieve success in gamification, it's really important to stick to the genre. And you don't have to be like an experienced gamer to know what it is, but you have to know how to keep it short and simple and engaging, and keep that playful tone of voice, and also the playful visuals and design, something that your eye catches immediately, that this is something fun, and you get that expectation of there to be a reward, and obviously you get the reward and the dopamine and everything we've been talking about. So that's basically our solution here at Mevo. We provide that platform, because the before mentioned Gabe Sickerman, the one with the definition, he says that gamification is 25% technology and 75% psychology. So the 25%, that's what we offer in our platform, the technology, but also there's that psychology. So if you keep the content along the lines of what I've been talking about, you should be good. So you can use this platform to create these dynamics from gaming to reach a group of people, any group of people, key stakeholders, to engage them and educate them. So at Mevo, we love the concept of bite-sized learning. So we like to include quizzes in all we do. I think that's a good tip because it's also a great way of making sure people earn points. Getting those points is really important. And the quiz, a multiple choice quiz, really simple, is actually quite fun. And we also believe that knowledge is really empowering. So anyone who knows the story behind your brand or your business, it's much easier to make that connection if they truly know who you are. And ultimately, the goal, of course, is to create these brand ambassadors, these people who will stay loyal for life. I'll finish with some examples of campaigns we've been doing here at Mevo. Our customers use it for different stuff. They can use it not only for sales contests, but also at events, like especially now when you want to do trainings of staff or partners. It's difficult to do it in person, so it's a great way to do it digitally. Or just webinars like the one I made for today's webinar, your kickoff, anything like that when you want to get information out and engage a group of people with content. Sales contests, as I mentioned, trainings I mentioned. You can do fitness challenges, log your miles, bike miles, whatever. And also more social responsibility stuff like cutting printer costs and that kind of thing. One example, we have been very lucky to have many cool customers on board here at Mevo. One is Red Bull, very well-known brand. They used our app. These are some, I'm sorry for our non-Norwegian audience, this is in Norwegian, but you get the idea. It's some screens from the app. They used Mevo app to organize their internal salespeople, or strikers as they're called, the people working up selling their product to the stores. As you can see, the app is all branded with their own logo and colors and everything. And they registered in this app, they registered activity they did towards the stores and also answered quizzes. And as you see on the right side here, they got points and ranked on a leaderboard, which is always really popular with salespeople. Of course, they are a competitive bunch by nature, so they really respond well to these kind of challenges. Just see that I'm running out of time, so I'll just do this very briefly. Samsung, another top brand, they used Mevo to launch a new mobile phone at a chain of electronic stores in Norway. This is also in Norwegian, but I'm sure you can imagine when you're selling phones in an electronic store, you get new models all the time. So for Samsung to get an opportunity to really reach those people with knowledge about details and key selling points on their phones was really successful. The salespeople really appreciated the knowledge, and of course they registered the sales of phones as well and collected points on everything, and also had the opportunity to win some fantastic prizes and see how they were doing, beating their competitors in competing stores, and also their colleagues in their own store. So yeah, that's two just very quick examples. Of course, our platform can be customized to fit different users. Basically, any operation where you want to engage and interact with a group of people with branded content and micro-learning, just organizing a fun and educational activity. All right, that was my presentation, actually. I hope Sondre also answered a lot of it throughout the presentation, and that you all feel like you learned something. Maybe you'll look at your phone or your apps with a different set of eyes. Yeah, as I said, feel free to contact me directly with any questions. I'll have a look and I can see if I can email you back the people who had some more complicated questions. Yeah, and hope to see you soon at another webinar, and thank you so much for joining. Have a great evening, everyone.